We are reading from Canto 3, which is the status quo, chapter 13, the appearance of Lord Varaha, text 44. Vidunvata vedamayam nijam papur janastapa satya nivashino vayam sata shikhoddhuta shivam bhuvindu bindubhi vimrajyamana vrisham ishapa pitaha. Go word to word. Vidunvata, while shaking, Vedamayam, personified Vedas, Nijam, own, Vapuhu, body, Jana, the Janaloka planetary system, Tapaha, the Tapaloka planetary system, Satya, the Satyaloka planetary system, Nivasina, the inhabitants, Vayam, we, Sata, hairs on the shoulders, Shikha Uddhuta, sustained by the tip of the hair. Shiva, auspicious, Ambu, water, Bindubhi, by the particles, Vimrajyamanaha, we are thus sprinkled by, Brisham, highly, Isha, O Supreme Lord, Pavitaha, purified. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Supreme Lord, undoubtedly we are inhabitants of the most pious planets, the Jana, Tapas, and Satyalokas. But still, we have been purified by the drops of water sprinkled from your shoulder hairs by the shaking of your body. Purport: ordinarily, the body of a hog is considered impure, but one should not consider that the hog incarnation assumed by the Lord is also impure. That form of the Lord is the personified Vedas and is transcendental. The inhabitants of the Jana, Tapas, and Satyalokas are the most pious persons in the material world. But because those planets are situated in the material world, there are so many material impurities there also. Therefore, when the drops of water from the tips of the Lord's shoulder hairs were sprinkled upon the bodies of the inhabitants of the higher planets, they felt purified. The Ganges water is pure because of its emanating from the toe of the Lord. And there is no difference between the water emanating from the toe and that from the tips of the hair on the shoulder of Lord War. They are both absolute and transcendental. So, welcome, dear devotees. We will do the Mangalacharan, invoke auspiciousness by reciting the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bharevacha Patitanam Papanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyanta Deshaparini. So welcome again to this morning's Bhagavatam discussion. I have been on a business trip in Wisconsin all of this week, so haven't had a lot of time to prepare. Also, I'm in the hotel internet, so I hope it'll be okay. Let me know if you can't hear me or something. So, it's just that these pastimes of Rahadev, whatever I've been able to hear, is so endearing that in spite of all this, I did not want to miss the opportunity to meditate a little bit on him for my purification. Yeah. So, but before I start, I seek the blessings of my Guru Maharaj and all of the wonderful devotees that are present or not present right now. So I may speak something of some value. So we've been reading about Varahadev, and he really has become so dear, hasn't he? I mean, he's so lovable. I mean, he's of course here. He incarnated as as Varahadev. The Lord incarnated as Varahadev with a very serious mission, but everything that we're reading about him is just so playful, so lovable. We heard in the prior verses that Varahadev was playing like an elephant, and of course, a huge, huge, big elephant. Slashing his tail, he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks, right? And then his luminous glance and his tumultuous roar, which enlivened the residents of Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. And then as he lifted the earth, from the water, we heard that it was like he looked like an elephant lifts a lotus. So everything, I mean, it's just been so poetic, so sweet. And right now we are in a section where the sages are offering beautiful prayers to Lord Varahadev. Yesterday we heard that, in Vamshidhari Prabhu's class, that the sages said that the fact that the Lord has delivered the earth from the huge Garbhodakashai ocean is really no wonder, it's no surprise or astonishment for him, because he has acted in so many, other wonderful ways, like during the creation of the universe and so on. So in this particular verse, the sages are saying that, O Supreme Lord, undoubtedly we are inhabitants of the most pious planets, the Jana, Tapas, and Satyalokas. But still we have been purified by the drops of water sprinkled from your shoulder hairs by the shaking of your body. So, to kind of imagine that, if you think of any animal, right? Probably dog is an animal that we are quite familiar with. We've seen that when a dog is given a bath, right, and it's wet, what does it do to dry itself? I mean, I mean, if it's a pet, the owners may bring towels and stuff, but naturally the dog's tendency is to shake, 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 right, to get all the water, off its body and hair. And that's what most animals naturally do, like a hog would do, right, when wet. So think of, if you're in the streets of, especially in India, in the morning, you've taken a bath and you're walking to the temple maybe, or to work. And then a hog, a pig comes out from some place. Generally, the pigs, are in a dirty place, maybe in a drain or some dirty place. And it comes near you and shakes its body, right? And all the muck and water and everything falls on you. And that would be quite disgusting. Right? And I mean, you would probably want to go back home and before going anywhere, take a bath again, right? And, full fresh, freshen yourself. Yet, when the Supreme Lord in his incarnation as Varahadev, after lifting the earth from the Garbhodakashai ocean, and he's acting his part in the form of a boar or a hog, or a varaha to the fullest, right? So he's acting that part to the fullest, and he shakes his body, just like a hog, to get all the water off his body. And as he does this, the sages in the Jana, Tapas, and Satyaloka, which are the highest planetary systems in the universe, the most pious, of all planetary systems, they consider themselves purified. So we know of the 14 planetary systems in the material universe. There's the 7 lower, and then the middle, which is Earth, and then the 6 upper planetary systems. And we also know that the level of consciousness of the living entity determines which planetary system one resides in, right? So in the lower planetary systems, the Patal, Sutal, Talatal, etc., it is the residence of the demons, the snakes, the hobgoblins, and whatnot, right? With short lives, a lot of suffering. They're all mostly in the mode of ignorance. And then, of course, on the Earth planet, mostly in the mode of passion. And then above us is Bhuvar and Swa, or Swarga, right, the heavenly planets, where there are many facilities for pleasure and enjoyment, and the demigods reside there, and they have beautiful bodies and a lot of ability to enjoy, but they have higher consciousness than us, and they are also they are devotees of God. And even above them is the Jana, Tapa, and Satyaloka, where the consciousness is much higher. They are, they study the Vedic scriptures, perform tapasya. They have much longer lives. And by virtue of, that higher consciousness that they have, they are able to see or perceive, a lot more, right? Um, One example that Srila Prabhupada used to give is for us to understand is that, if you're driving a car and the car stops, right? And especially a person like me who has no idea, and maybe open the hood and look what's going on, but it's all kind of, doesn't make any sense to me as to what needs to be done to get the car to start working again. And then, say an expert mechanic works by. He may stop, take a quick look, touch something, and the car starts up, right? So that is because of the level that the mechanic, that expert is at, right? He can see much more than I would, under the hood of the car. So this is a material example, but similarly, the sages and the inhabitants of those higher planets are so much more pure, so much more pious. But even they consider themselves purified when Lord Varaha, in that form of the boar, shakes water from his body and the water falls on them. So why is that? It's because the Supreme Lord is absolute, right? And we know that. The Supreme Lord is absolute. No matter what form he takes, right? That form is transcendental. The Lord is self-satisfied and complete, and everything associated with him is, pure, and is not bound by any rules, right? So he can appear wherever he desires, in whatever form, whenever, right? I mean, of course, we know that he does appear in this material world for his devotees, for the pleasure of his devotees, paritranaya sadhunam. And so his interactions and exchanges with his devotees are in many, many wonderful ways. right? So as Prabhupada says that while the sages are definitely very advanced, but still they are in this material world and therefore not free from contamination. So when the enormous body of the Lord shook after he dived into the Garbhodakashayi ocean, that water is basically Charnamrit, because the Lord has had Abhishek in that water. And that water from his body fell in many places. This verse is talking about how it fell on the sages, purifying them. And then it fell on in many different locations on this earth, purifying those places, forming holy lakes in various places. In fact, just last yatra during Kartik, when we went to Udupi and Melkote, we saw one of those places. It's called, in Melkote, it's called Kalyani Pushkarini. And the priests were talking about how auspicious it is, that Kalyani Pushkarini. And it's actually mentioned in the Padma Puran. And then it is also said that wherever the water, places where the water from the Varahadev fell, kusha grass grew as well. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that the Ganges water is pure because of its emanating from the toe of the Lord. And there is no difference between the water emanating from the toe and that from the tips of the hair on the shoulder of Lord Bore. They are both absolute and transcendental. So every part of the Lord's body is equally purifying and auspicious, right? Whether it be the toe, the shoulder, his mouth, his face, of course. And we'll see a little bit about that. So similarly, anything that is related to the Lord is auspicious and divine, right? And purifying. And coming in contact with anything associated with the Lord cleanses our heart, takes us closer to the Lord. For example, our temple, right? The divine, paraphernalia that we are able to touch, come close to. The warmth from the deep, from the Lord's arati, the water from the conch shell, the charnamrit from the Lord's abhishek. Everything is so purifying. Sometimes we just, go through it like, go through those motions, take them and like a ritual. But if we just think how special they are, right? Because they are associated with the Lord. And of course, not to mention the undeserved opportunity that we have in so many ways to serve their lordships, Sri Sri Radha Sham Sundar, Radha Madhav, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, touch their paraphernalia, their dresses, their ornaments, their cooking pots, honor prasadam, right? And somehow, with some mercy, we get these opportunities so easily. And without putting in too much effort, in our temple. If one goes to Mayapur or Vrindavan, especially during Kartik, just getting into the temple is such a struggle because, there are so many people. There's such a big crowd. I was there, a couple of years, just getting in. Offering lamps, you have to stand in a long line during Kartik. I was there last year during Govardhan Puja at Mayapur. And after the, Govardhan, all the offerings and everything was over, for us to get prasadam, I had to stand in line for 3 hours in the sun. And there were many stations, and yet all the stations had, long lines of people. Right? Because there are so many devotees, so many people. Even during Mangal Aarti, unless you go really early, we'll be standing all the way at the back. And then when I returned to the US, and I realized that, such great fortune that we are, so peacefully able to offer lamps to the Lord here, sing to them, take darshan at Shringararati to our heart's content. Mangalarati, I mean, there's nobody, I mean, we all have the opportunity to sing, and so many. So I just pray that, I never take this for granted, right? Or allow allow the familiarity to, reduce in any way that feeling of love, humility, and respect, that the Lord is allowing us to get so close to Him. And then another purifying item, shifting gears a little bit, is of course the Bhagavad Gita, which came from the Lord's own mouth, right? And hearing, reading the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, gives the knowledge, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita, and by removing our ignorance, purifies us, right? So that's another. And then I know the devotees of the Lord, right? I mean, I know we are talking a little bit about the basics, but I feel like some reminders, every once in a while is just so helpful, that how all of these things are so precious when we are with devotees, especially when pure devotees, when Maharajas visit, by serving them, it's like we can almost feel, some purification happening by listening to them, which is also a service. That that association, being in the same vicinity, somehow seems to help see things with a little more clarity, and the heart seems to become softer, right? And that's the power and purity that they spread. So again, to think about the undeserved good fortune that we have to get that association, right? So we should be so grateful. And then, of course, the Lord's name, Harinam, which is the center, at the center of our sadhana bhakti. Mahaprabhu has so kindly given us the Mahamantra, the name of the Lord, which is non-different from the Lord himself. I was actually watching a Bengali dance drama, which rendered, the time when Mahaprabhu was leaving his home to take sannyas, and his young, beautiful, very young, beautiful wife, Vishnupriya, and Shachi Mata. It was so heartrending, the sacrifice that they all did, right, for us, the people of Kali Yuga, so that we have no need to undertake any complex austerity, uh, or do perform things like the Ashwamedha Yagya or whatever. All we have to do is chant the name of the Lord. And we've heard in prior classes that one can realize, one can understand the Lord only when one is free from material desire. And chanting the name of the Lord helps to clean the heart from material desires, right? Chetodarpanamarjanam. And that, Harinam Sankirtan is the only way to cleanse our hearts and realize the Lord. And of course, we know of so many ways in which, Harinam protects the devotee. Haridas Thakur, how he was protected when the prostitute tried to, seduce him, all because of the holy name. In contrast, in the next chapter, we will read about Kashyapa Muni and Diti, how Kashyapa Muni gave in to his wife's desires, and, at an inauspicious time, and that's how Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were born, in fact. That's one of the reasons why Varahadev had to come as, incarnate as the boar avatar. So you must have heard of this line, Ek Krishna name joto pap hore, papi hoye toto pap korite na pare. It's from the Prema Vivarta, I believe, that even a single name of Krishna removes so much, is able to remove and cleanse so much sin, that no matter how big the sinner or, how compulsive, the sinner is, cannot commit that much sin, right? And then, so yeah, that's the holy name. And then, of course, just remembering the Lord, right, purifies one completely. We have the, let's see, yeah, I think it's here. This is a verse, a mantra that we speak every day in the morning before serving the deities, right? It's from the Garuda Puran. Apavitra pavitrova sarvavastam gatopiva yasmarit pundarekaksham sabhavyam abhantara shuchihi. So it's basically, saying that whether we are unclean or clean, apavitra or pavitra, whichever condition we are in, sarvavastam gatopiva, wherever, no matter where we have been, if we remember Pundarikaksha, Yasmarit Pundarikaksham. Pundarikaksham is the lotus-eyed one, who is Lord Krishna. One will become cleansed. Sabhayam abhantara shuchihi. One will become cleansed outside and inside. So beautiful and, so reassuring that no matter how contaminated, whatever situation we are in, there is that way, you just remember Krishna with love and you're cleansed. And of course, in Sri Ishopanishad, it specifically says that Sri Ishopanishad describes him as Shuddham, antiseptic, and Apapavidyam, prophylactic. So he is antiseptic in the sense that even an impure thing can become purified just by touching him. And the word prophylactic refers to the power of his association, right? So a devotee may appear to be a sudurachara, not well behaved in the beginning, but he should be accepted as pure because he is on the right path, right? This is due to the prophylactic nature of the Lord's association. So that is where I'll end. And there's just one other line that I want to, kind of leave with us and with me as well, which is, again, you would have heard this. Shuchi hoy muchi, jodi Krishna tage, muchi hoy shuchi, jodi Krishna bhaje. So, shuchi, which is auspicious, becomes muchi, dirty and inauspicious. Jodi Krishna tage, if one turns away from Krishna. And conversely, no matter how inauspicious or, whatever the state is, muchi becomes auspicious if one turns towards Krishna and worships Krishna, keeps Krishna in the center. So that's the thought. I mean, especially as I'm traveling and away from home, away from the temple, and it kind of, is resonating with me a lot now. So thank you very much. Sorry if I misspoke anything. Some I have a bit of a sore throat as well, but please add or correct. And yeah, I'm in the hotel room actually. I don't know if the internet was okay and if the voice came through correctly.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. I came at the very end of the call, so I'm sorry I missed most of it. But you were talking about this cleanliness, and I just thought I'll share. I've been reading Chaitanya Mangala with my kids, running up to Dora Purnima, and the pastime where Sachi Mataji is, she is distraught because her son is sitting on top of these broken, dirty pots, and then not only does it once, he seems to do it at least a couple of times. And every time, she is completely besides herself. She's saying, people will mistake you. You're the son of a Brahmana, Jagannath Mishra, and you're sitting in these dirty places. Why do you love to crawl and like roll in the dirt and, you know, get yourselves unclean? Go bathe in Ganges and come. And you know, every time he has this mischievous smile and he seems to say, you know, you don't seem to know who I am. Like
It's so
dirt and, you
beautiful.
know, this uncleanliness are not words that are associated with me, that kind of a thing, you know, like he's never touched by
Yeah.
impure stuff. So he's
Mm,
always pure. So I just thought it was a cute pastime to share. Hare
yeah.
Krishna.
So nice. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing. Thank you so much. I know I'm so excited that you're reading Chaitanya Mangal. We're actually reading Chaitanya Charitamrita in our reading group. But I would love to read Chaitanya Mangal. So, okay, if there isn't anything else, then we'll stop for today. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha. Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo.
Thank you, Mataji, for nice class. I know you also need to drop, so thank you.
So, thank you. Hare Krishna.